it's April here and I've got a video today where we're going to be looking at some art supplies I got a while ago. I actually got these maybe 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, and I haven't had a chance to play with them yet. This I did play with on stream is the Jackson's acrylic block. I just played with one sheet. I struggled to get it off the block. So yeah, we're going to use this tonight. I'm just going to keep it on the block though. Someone suggested in the stream to keep it on the block and then take it off after, and I won't curl up, so I'm going to give that a go. I also bought, but wanted to try one for ages, a Stay Wet palette. And I bought it because another purchase that I'll show you in a second are some Holbein acrylic wash, which I have been using for about 3 or 4 years. I'm really bad at using them though. Like I'm not bad at using them. I don't mean I'm like terrible. I don't. When I say bad at using them, I mean I don't use them very efficiently. So I normally just unscrew the lid like this and squeeze it out onto my paintbrush. I don't really use a palette at all. And sometimes they tend to like dry because I have the lid off quite a bit, or the paint gets gunked up around here and dries and closes the hole up, or like little bits get in just because I'm not really using them correctly. So I got the Stella Rowney Stay Wet one. It's a bit cheaper than the other one, which I think is Masterston. And it came like this, and I was a bit surprised because I thought it was going to be like the other one, the expensive one. I probably should have looked at the photo. It just literally is a plastic trough, and then you put like water in it. You put like this water paper down that stays wet, I guess, and then if I can get it, if I can just pinch it here, this like palette paper, I guess. And yeah, the other one had like a sponge on it, a little more professional. Another thing I'm worried about this is that it's very deep, and I don't know if I'm using the paintbrush, like, I don't know, it's kind of, I feel like it would get annoying to have to like go in, but we'll see if it works. I just hope to use it and keep the paints wet for a bit so they don't dry out, because the acrylic wash dries very quickly. So we're going to use this today. We're going to use the acrylic block. I also treated myself to a new paintbrush, which is, I don't know, I just wanted to get a new paintbrush. I love buying paintbrushes. I use them, I'm so rough with paintbrushes though, I just destroy them. This one is just a little one. I'm trying to like get better at painting lines and things instead of using a pencil. So this one here, no matter how much I try to make it into a point, it just splays out like this. I'm sure there must be a way I can, I think soap, did someone say soap, or maybe toothpaste, I don't know. And then lastly, well, the biggest purchase was some acrylic gouache. So these are some acrylic gouache, some of my collection, which, where is it? So this is my lovely collection of acrylic gouache. I'm definitely outgrowing this ball, but I have 5 colours here that I've taken out, and I have all these colours I already had in my collection. You can probably tell by how rough they are. I was on the Holbein website the other day looking at the gouache, the regular gouache, not the acrylic gouache, and I came across this set by Rebecca Green, who I absolutely love. I didn't know that she had her own acrylic gouache set, and I was looking through it and I thought it looked pretty cool. And then I realised I had 5 of the set already. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I have 6, can't count, and I thought, why didn't I get the other 6 and I have the whole set? It's not as nice as her actual set, which comes in its own little box with a lovely illustration. So these are the colours in her set: Vermilion, Coral Red, Mustard, and then I bought Emerald Green, Sap Green, and then I got Pale Aqua, Smoke Blue, Ash Yellow, Ash Blue, Burnt Sienna, Sepia, and Gold. So it looks like quite a muted set really. You have a lot of the muted colours, the ash colours, you have a nice sap green, you got like a couple of the more muted primaries. So yeah, I think it might be a really nice set to use. You got the sepia instead of black. I think it's going to be really fun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to swatch them all out, and maybe I'll mix a few little bits to have a little play, and then I'm going to draw something. So I was just on Rebecca's blog, where she actually writes about how she chose the colour palette. Oh, there goes a paintbrush. She talks about how she chose the colour palette and also a tour that she did of the Holbein paint factory, which was really interesting to read. So I'll leave the link below if you guys are interested. If you haven't heard of Rebecca Green, I would definitely recommend checking her out. Her work is so lovely, and she has a blog that she's done for about 10 years, and it's just really interesting to read. I went back one time, like a few months ago when I first found the blog. I went back all the way to like 2010 when she started and read her first few blogs, and there's such a different contrast to the one she does now, which are really well detailed. So yeah, definitely check her out. Not right now, finish watching this video and then go check her out if you haven't. So that was Vermilion on the left there. This one's Coral Red. Vermilion I don't really use much. Some of these colours I use quite a lot. Coral Red I use a lot. It was actually one of the first 5 paints that I bought when I first bought acrylic gouache. So when I first decided to try acrylic gouache, I think it was after watching Franard, and she was using it. And this was, it must have been at least 4 years ago now that I first bought some. I bought 5. I can't remember all of the colours, but I know Opera Pink was in it, Coral Red, also Joan Brilliant. It was kind of like pastel-y colours. This one here, Pale Lavender, because Franard used that for her shadows. I basically copied Franard. I was, yeah, I'm a huge Franard fan when I still am, but huge, basically, like Franard was the reason I started YouTube in the first place. So, but I chose 5 colours to begin with, and then I just added on until I have what, like 40 now. I have quite a lot. I think I have more than that now. So that was Mustard. That's a fairly new colour. I haven't played with that colour much at all. I bought this maybe, what, 6 months ago. I haven't really used my acrylic gouache paint for a long time, so I'm actually really looking forward to getting back into using it. And look, I just noticed now that I'm doing what I normally do, which is putting it on my paintbrush and then paint with it. This is literally how I normally paint, like this. So this one's an emerald green. This is a colour that I definitely probably wouldn't have bought myself, just because it's quite bright. It's funny though, because actually I do love the colour, but it's also quite similar to Ice Green, which I use quite a lot. So a little bit more on the green side though. So this one is Sap Green. This is also a lovely colour. I mean, honestly, every colour from Holbein acrylic gouache is lovely, but you know, you gotta have your faves. This one looks really nice as well, Pale Aqua. So when I was reading Rebecca Green's blog, she said in it that she was trying to pick a colour palette that would be good for beginners. So people, I guess you could mix your own colours with it, but also it would be good to have colours that aren't easily made, like by mixing. So I guess any of the lighter colours. She mentioned Naples Yellow, which is this one here, which she said she was thinking about including, but you can also just get this colour by mixing white into one of the other colours. I thought that was quite interesting. I mean, if I was going to make a colour palette, what would I do? Have you guys ever thought about that, if you could make your own colour palette? This one is Smoke Blue, and I haven't got this one, obviously. So I have these 2 blues, which I enjoy, Cobalt Blue and Light Blue. But it's funny that Smoke Blue is actually the colour I have been trying to find, and I just didn't know it was a thing. It's like almost like a cornflower blue, but a little bit darker, like perfect for a sky. You can just imagine that as a summer sky. This is one of the ashes, Ash Yellow. I have Ash Rose, Ash Green, and Ash Blue. And now I have Ash Yellow, so I have the whole set of ashes. And I just think these are just such a lovely, paints. They're so muted. So this one here is Ash Blue. You can tell I use this one a lot. I really love this colour. And this is probably going to be very dry and a little bit gross, just because. And then the last 3, we have a Burnt Sienna, which is also fairly a new colour. I bought it at the same time as I got the Mustard about 6 months ago, and I haven't used it much. It's kind of like a reddy brown. I don't think I would choose to use this one much in my work. And then we have sepia. So one thing in the blog Rebecca Green mentioned is that she said it would be good to add a primary black and a white to this set, which probably everyone has. So you can also imagine all of these colours mixed with white to be a little bit paler. So this is sepia, and it's very dark. I mean, it's like a warm, kind of like a very dark, warm, blackish colour. The last one, which I never would have bought, is gold. And I thought when I heard the word gold it was going to be kind of like ash yellow, but a bit more yellow. But nope, it is gold, guys. It's gold metallic paint, which I'm not a fan of. And look, even it's so like translucent. I don't know, it doesn't remind me of acrylic wash. It reminds me of some kind of cheap paint that you'd get from like a Poundland or something, or a Dollar Tree. I think I've heard of. Is that what they have in America? So those are all the colours and my very uneven swatches. They're not quite dry yet. I think what I'm going to do is I have this big white here. Well, it's basically empty now. I do have another replacement though, so I might do a little mixy mix with each of these colours and just kind of have a play. Maybe I'll even get the Stay Wet palette out and have a little play with that. We can look at how some of the colours mix together. Spent about 20 minutes doing this page of colours. I did the swatches like you saw, and then I kind of went in and I mixed lots of different colours up, did some bigger ones to kind of see like all the colours, kind of the feeling that you get from it. And it's quite nice, very colourful actually, lots of lovely colours. The one thing you can't really get is like a super bright pink, like an opera pink, because everything's very muted, or like a super bright highlighter yellow, but I think that's like, you know, the whole aim of the paint palette is to be quite muted. I also practiced with my new paintbrush to get some lines here. I kind of went off the rails a little bit here, but it's always good to have a little practice. And yeah, I used the Stay Wet palette. So initial thoughts on the Stay Wet palette, it was very wet. The paint kind of seems to bloom out, but it does keep it wet. The problem with me and mixing is, you can probably see, I do tend to just muddy everything up. So I tend to like mix colours into colours into colours until everything's kind of like a very dirty grey brown. But I do think these are going to work. I just maybe, obviously I don't think you're going to use 12 colours at once. You'll probably use like 4 or 5, so you'll have more space for mixing. But yeah, it was nice, it was fun. I'll keep using it obviously, and we'll see where it goes. So that is like the mixing and the exploration part done. And now I want to take these colours, I'm probably not going to use all of them. I'll probably pick like 5 maybe or 6 of the colours just so I'm not overwhelmed, and paint a little painting. This is my Hansel and Gretel sketchbook, one of them. This is the first one, and this is where I did a lot of my sketches for my characters and Folktale Week. This one here I've kind of continued, and it's got lots of the witch character in so far. I've been concentrating on her. So Hansel and Gretel is the story that I'm doing for the Children's Book Pro course. I'm still working on it kind of in the background. And I started looking at my witch character, who's a fox. And she's a baker, because she's obviously in her gingerbread house. But her gingerbread house is actually going to be like a bakery rather than a gingerbread house. So I did lots of little poses of her baking. And yeah, lots more sitting on a rocking chair, eating apples, baking bread. And then I did this one here feeding the birds, and I thought it was really cute. So I found this picture online of this old woman feeding a whole bunch of birds, and I basically copied her. The legs here are a little bit awkward, so I think I'll probably use these legs. But because I was basically inspired by this whole video by Rebecca Green. I thought it would be perfect to do a little character illustration, because that is Rebecca Green does a lot of animal characters and they're really kind of simple. Her line's really lovely. I thought it might be nice to kind of try and do a little witch illustration, so I wanted to do something a bit more interesting than just the witch on her own. So I think I'm going to do this one here with the birds. I'll redraw the birds a little bit better because right now they look a bit strange. I'm going to use some colours from these guys. And that's the next thing we're going to do for the video. So it'll be nice to get a little finished illustration done. I just did a couple of little colour palette tests here, I guess. I always find these things really hard when I'm trying to plan stuff. When I'm just painting normally, everything seems to work okay. Like, even if it takes me a while to get there, it still gets there. But when I plan and I think I'll use these colours, they'll be nice in combination, blah blah blah, I'll do some tests, I don't know, I just seem to lose it. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to try just use these 5 colours, so sepia, pale aqua, ash yellow mustard, coral red. I'm kind of leaning towards this colour palette here. So she has like a brownish tunic on, she has light blue sleeves, and then her apron's white, and maybe her hat's blue or maybe it's black. I'm not sure yet. And then her little birds around her, I'm probably going to do black, and then I'll put on like nice colourful feathers on with some coloured pencil. And I think I like the blue background. So yeah, who knows? I mean, she's meant to be sitting on ground here, so it probably should be a floor as well. But I'm gonna leave it for tonight because it's quite late. It's already 9:15 and I've been doing this for a couple of hours. So I'm gonna leave it here and pop back tomorrow. Maybe we can even meet each other again in the daylight. If not, it'll be under this lovely artificial light. So yeah, I'll think on this tonight and we'll pop back tomorrow and we'll do the final. It's the next night now, and I just sat down and opened the lid of the Stay Wet palette, and it's basically just kind of all globbed onto each other and made kind of like an abstract art piece, I guess. Yeah, lots of browns. I'm not quite sure what to do. Do I pick the paper up and put another one down? It seems very wasteful. Was the paper too wet, perhaps? This is still moist, maybe not as wet as it was yesterday. So I'm going to pop another sheet on there, see what happens, if I can find them. Here we go. So this comes with 3 sheets of reservoir paper, which is this paper in here that you make wet. 12 sheets of semi-permeable membrane, which is like the palette paper. So this is definitely not going to be as wet, which is nice. Hopefully it still works. It's not as wet. Should do, right? It's voiceover April here. For the rest of the video, I didn't say anything. I was just watching YouTube and Hell's Kitchen and listening to music. When I draw, I find it really difficult to like draw and talk at the same time just because the whole process takes so long. And to be honest, guys, I get kind of bored just sitting in silence and then occasionally talking. I need some like entertainment. I think I'm one of those people that just needs constant entertainment, which is kind of sad to admit, but hey, there you go. So basically what I did is you saw I traced it using my light pad onto the paper, and then using I think it was 6 different colours that I showed, I started painting. So I recently watched a video on Rebecca Green's Patreon where she does like a process of her painting, and I thought it would be fun to kind of try and paint like her, basically. So this entire video is like a love letter to Rebecca Green, kind of. Basically using her colours, trying to paint like her, talking about her constantly. I just really admire her work. So what she does is uses a tiny little paintbrush, I think. Well, in this video she did. And mixes the paint as she goes. So, you know, like with acrylic wash, it's really easy to get a very big flat piece of colour.
where she would mix it up and get like lots of different variations. And I first started with my bigger paintbrush, but I wasn't really getting the right technique, kind of like the look that I wanted. So I switched to my new paintbrush, which is really lovely, and painted like this. Now this goes against everything that I every method, every technique, every fiber of my being. It goes against everything that I do with art, which is taking my time, being methodical, being slow, thinking about what I'm gonna do. Basically, if you guys have seen me paint before on live streams or on YouTube, you'll know that I'm a bit hap-dash, is that a word? Slapdash? I don't know. I'm dashing all over the place. I'm very messy. I like to create texture. Like this has a lot of texture in it, but I don't create methodical texture like this. And I think painting like this actually has... I don't want to do this in the future, guys, because this was tedious, very tedious. But I do think that it has helped me think a bit more, and also the way that the shapes are so very clearly defined from each other. One of the things that I've been noticing looking at my children's books, I just want to show you this tiny pencil. How cute is it? I need to get a new one. I don't have a replacement, and it's literally the only thing I need, but I don't want to buy just that one pencil online, so I'm going to wait until I have another order, but it's my absolute favourite. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, I've been looking at the children's books that I have, and while a lot of them are digital, some of them are traditional, you can still get lots of lovely texture and everything, but one thing that they all seem to have in common is very clear shapes. I guess for kids especially, and really anyone in general who enjoys a nice picture book, it's kind of good to know what you're looking at. And I think in my work it gets really muddy sometimes. I get a little bit too lazy. So I think I need to think about shapes more, contrast, the differences between, the bush and the sky, for example, which I'm going to do another painting in a second, and you'll see the difference between them. So I just did the little bit of hair and the teeth at the end, which I forgot. And then I go straight into a second one. I basically traced the exact same picture onto the piece of paper. And I thought I would use the same paint, the same colours. I think I changed the colours up a tiny little bit for some of these, but I would paint how I would naturally paint, I guess. I do think I was influenced a little bit by the painting I had just done, so I was thinking a little bit more consciously about colours, but you can see here I'm trying to like almost not think about that and just think what I would do normally. So I'm mixing more of the colours into the bushes. It's not just greens, I'm mixing like yellows and pinks in, which I do quite a lot, and kind of focusing more on the colours and the texture rather than the shapes, because when I normally draw, I tend to kind of use my pencils as a crutch, I think, which is another reason I really wanted to try and paint like Rebecca Green, because she just does a lot of painting and uses her pencils as kind of details towards the end. I use pencils quite heavily to kind of define areas, which is fine. It is nice. It just sometimes is a lot of work. Like, depending on how lazy I've been that day with the paint, it is quite a lot of work to like bring it back with the pencils. So another thing that I love to do is add little trees. The first image didn't have any trees, so I added these into the sky, and you can kind of see they're blobby. They don't really have a very strong shape. They don't have a very strong difference in the colour between the sky and the bush, but I think that's okay because you're kind of fading into the background a bit. But this one, compared to the previous one, is a lot more... it's like more colourful, but also it's more chaotic. Like if you look at the bushes where I've added the grass and the twigs and stuff, kind of it gets a little bit messy. I mean, I don't want to copy someone's art. I do think it's valuable to look at other artists, how they paint, how they draw, how they look at the world, and take bits from, your favourite artists and kind of combine it together. I think that's how we all naturally create our own style. So these are the two in comparison. I thought it was a really good exercise. Which one do you like better? I think I like the second one better, just because I felt more natural to me. I took them into Procreate and just touched up the birds a little bit. And this is the final. Let me know if you enjoyed the colour palette from Rebecca Green. You can find them online somewhere, or you can make your own like I did. I think it would be really fun in a future video to make my own colour palette. So keep an eye out for that one. I'll probably have a little play and try and come up with my own colours. I think that would be really fun, and maybe even design a box. And this will be my last video before the new year. So have a lovely holiday or break if you're celebrating or if you're just chilling out. And let me know what you're up to, and I will see you in the new year. So that's all for me. Thanks for watching. Bye.